Hello, my fellow presenters. Okay, so in a previous video, I spoke about the time that I got fired from a regular company or a company that I was regularly working for, doing a lot of quizzes. And I then spoke about how it was the best thing that happened to me. I was watching a podcast between two of my favourite podcasters slash YouTubers, Diary of a CEO, Stephen Bartlett, interviewing Ali Abdaal. And this interview was actually quite old, but it came up on my YouTube feed. And there was something that they talked about that really resonated with me. And that was the quitting framework. And it made me think about this experience that I had, but also how it then sort of applied to what I liked doing and what I didn't like doing, and looking to refine the parts of the work that I do enjoy, and how it also related to my corporate role play work and facilitation and the direction that I wanted to take that in. So take a look.
And realizing that teaching is more of a value for me than saving lives, for example. I was like, okay, cool. This makes sense. I can now get on board with that and not feel bad about it.
The other point is that I've never cared about, I've really never cared about finding out what my values are. And this probably goes back to how I answered that question, because the stimuli that I have to decide all of these things is like, how does it make me feel? And I think if you have a good quitting framework, then you will quickly move in the direction of your values much faster than others will.
Quitting framework.
Yeah, like if you have a good like quitting framework, you're very good at quitting, then so if you're good at conducting experiments and then quitting, like it's like rapid A/B testing, right? And you can, I think the answer really to finding out who you are and what your values are and getting your place to a life that you really love is try something. I always say to young people, increase the amount of experiments you're doing and quit faster. So you go and get a job, you're like, okay, I hate this boss was a dick because we didn't have any freedom here or autonomy. I hate that part. I love the fashion part, but I just hate this environment because of this, and this. Quit. Go and find a job where you have the bit you liked and some new sort of factors. And then you go, okay, well, I love that bit. I actually loved being a manager here. I'm going to keep the fashion piece. I love the autonomy of being able to work from home or whatever. Quit, move on. Next job, And I think that's what I've done in my life is I never knew what my values were, but I went in the direction of, I started out in call centers, knew I loved building things and being an entrepreneur in sales, moved in that direction, quit the call center jobs, did about 15 of them, start my own business. Parts of business I really don't like. Yeah. Don't want to do those parts. Don't do them. I still don't do them.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is the part within this bit, within business that I love doing, within this industry. And I never was intentional about that. There was no plan. It was this rapid, increase the experiments you're doing and quit as fast as you possibly can. And then you end up, I think, in a life but quitting is easier said than done.
So in that clip, Stephen Bartlett talked a lot about, finding something, the elements that you liked, but then, okay, quit there, but then look for something that has that element that you do like. And it made me think about my quizzing. I like working for myself. I don't like dealing with a company like with that experience that I had where we're treated, where they have no regard for our time. And, I didn't even speak about in that video at times, the owner was literally sort of swearing at me on the phone. I mean, he was really brutal and a terrible manager, and I mean, technically, we're not really working for them because we're partnering with them as freelancers. But there you go. And I remember thinking, okay, I really enjoy working for myself, but also it's under my own brand, Ken Burke Presents, and I can grow this and it feels great. And, if anything goes wrong, I'm responsible. If nobody shows up, if I don't show up, if I don't bring my A game, then that's on me. And that worked better for me. And I felt even more invested in what I was growing. And it then also made me think about if I were to go down the road of getting more venues, when we think about growth and being able to get to the next stage, if I were able to get more venues, and occasionally I've had that where I've had other gigs that sort of clashed, and I've got a great pool of covers that come in and do the quiz how I like it, but I also give them their own autonomy as well. So but I knew that the value in what I was offering was something that's more unique. It's not just a generic kind of standard format. It's kind of tailored to that venue and the audience there, because I'm there every week. So I was able to think about I was thinking about opportunities of how I would grow, how I could potentially grow my comparing. Do I go down the route of where I try to get more venues? And I realized that I don't want to be doing that, because essentially I would have to be managing a load of clients that where I'm not there, I'm not hosting. I'd be responsible for making sure everybody gets to the venue, logistics of if they need a cover, then finding somebody, and just sort of doing all the social media admin, invoicing for it all. And that's not really the direction that I wanted to go in. I wanted to be more of a compere. I wanted to I really enjoyed recently working as a host for a couple of corporate gigs. So I realized that's the direction that I need to grow in. And I still would take on another venue if any of my in my pool of freelancers wanted that, but it wouldn't be something that I would aggressively go out and push for more venues, because I want to be sort of out there comparing, delivering, hosting, and just really kind of creating a vibe which I really enjoy with my quiz nights. In terms of the corporate roleplay, last year I remember I was dreading a few bookings that I had lined up to do what we call the OSCEs. This is when junior doctors or senior doctors have to undertake their exams, and sometimes these circuits are brutal. I once had a day where I did 56 stations, so you get given a scenario and often you're not given enough time, and particularly in this one I wasn't. It was 5 to 7 minutes. The OSCE was really badly run. We only had 15-minute lunch break. On the face of it, you would think, okay, it's a decent pay rate for the day, but after, you're just so drained and you can't do anything else. It was difficult for me to host my quiz in the evening and just to sort of power through that, because literally you're performing the same thing again on loop, again and again and again. And I realized what I really enjoyed was the element of being able to do the scenario but then give feedback, have a discussion about it. So i.e. the training element when they're training before the exams, because with the exams, you know, you're locked away, it's one after another, and it really is kind of a kind of athleticism. And I really commend anybody that does more than one day of a week of it. I mean, occasionally if I need a diary filler, I'll do it, but I realized, that's something that I consciously wanted to scale down, and this is what I like doing. So I would often, with different agencies that I was with, I would ask about what the job is, and, you know, how many stations, what's the scenario. I knew that I really struggled with some. I remember one of the hardest ones I did was where I was literally just getting an injection. So you're literally there as just sort of a body, and you're not. I didn't really feel like I was offering any kind of skill of what I'm good at. So that's when I realized, I don't like this bit. So this is, I put work in to trying to connect with companies, and touch wood, I've had quite a few leads this year, and I'm probably going to do another video on that, about how I've managed to change that and work with companies that I've really enjoyed. So I think this was a great clip here, because it really kind of gave me a mindset shift, and I thought I would put this here. And obviously sometimes it's very easy to feel stuck, and you might think, it's easier said than done with confidence. There's another clip here where they talk about that.
I have to say, it would be remiss if I didn't say, all of this is underpinned by huge confidence in self. And the fact when I do quit, I don't need a plan, and that I'll be fine. A lot of people don't have that part, so they hold themselves in a miserable situation because it's a certain one.
Yeah. You know, I like when I read that bit of the book, the quitting framework, I was sort of retrospectively applying decisions I've made to quit to that thing of like suck and hard. And I was like, okay, this actually makes a lot of sense. There was one decision that my mum still haunts me about, which was about a year ago. I decided that, you know what, I want to take my medical career seriously, and I want to move to America to do medicine. I had a few friends who were there. It seemed like an adventure, and it seemed cool. But to move to America from the UK to do medicine, you have to take this like ridiculously hard exam called the USMLE, and it's basically like relearning all of medical school, but at like, you know, a ridiculous level of detail, more so than we have in the UK. And so I started off preparing for this, and I realized that this is actually really hard. And the thing that I reasoned in my mind was, I could do this. But the reward is really not worth it. Like, you get to the end of it. I'd spoken to some doctors working in America. They were like, yeah, you make $400K a year and you're working a lot and you're going through this 4 years of grueling residency program. And in my mind, it was like, okay, it's hard and the outcome is not worth it.
Yes.
Therefore, I'm just going to quit.
That's the worst place to be in life.
Yeah.
Doing hard, struggling for nothing.
Yeah. But then when I have conversations with my mom, it's like, oh, well, you quit because you're a quitter. Like, the fact that you found it hard, like, you only quit because it was hard. And it's like, no, I didn't only quit because it was hard. I also crucially quit because it was like the reward was not going to be worth it. But I didn't quite have the terminology to express that until I read it in your book recently.
Yeah. Well, I didn't either. And it was, again, that's why I have to specify that that's not the framework I've made my decisions through for my whole life. In hindsight, I'm a very logical sort of first principle thinker. And that's why I'm able to arrive at peace when I make these massive life decisions, because it's like, oh, logically, there was no alternative. There was no alternative. I'm not going to do something that's hard and not worth it. What kind of insanity is that? I am someone that will do something that's hard and worth it. I'm not someone that's going to quit every time something sucks. Yeah. I am someone that's going to try and change it if it's worth it and if I think it's possible to change. Me and my girlfriend have an argument and I go, this sucks, and fucking walk out the door. That's not who I am. I will try and fight for something if it's worth it and if I believe it's changeable. And so logically, I think that framework is robust. I think it's solid.
But equally, London or whatever city you're in has so much to offer. Just put the work in to find something else out there. Speak to other people. What other jobs are they doing? What do they enjoy? And if they're quite coy or shy about it, look them up on LinkedIn. There's these companies. Write to them. You know, you can do that, and you'd be surprised. All these small steps that you take over time, then companies will start reaching out to you when they need you. Just present yourself really well, and that certainly happened to me. And yeah, you can change the parts that you don't like, and I can honestly say, with all the different things that I'm doing, I'm really enjoying it, and that's really important for me, because it's not easy what we do being a freelancer. It's very precarious and there's ebbs and flows. So it's important that, you know, we have passion about it, because you only live once, right? So you want to enjoy it. Do you have any stories like this or any experiences? Do please share below, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Thank you very much. Bye.